My name is Stanley. That night, I thought everything was finally falling into place. But it started like any other Friday. Months of saving, planning, and worrying about getting everything just right had led to this one night. I was ready to propose to Julia. We'd been together for a little over 2 years. From the very beginning, things just clicked between us. She was sharp, funny, and grounded in a way that made me feel like I could build a real life with her. I never second-guessed that feeling. I wanted the proposal to be something that felt like us. Simple, real, and solid. It had to be special, but not over the top. I chose Matteo's, the Italian restaurant where we had our first real date. It was cozy and quiet, tucked away, just like us. I asked Marcus, my best friend, to help book the private room. Julia's cousin Haley offered to decorate a little. Candles, flowers, nothing too flashy. The ring was sitting heavy in my jacket pocket, a plain silver band with a single diamond, clean and timeless, the kind of thing Julia always said she loved. We left our apartment just before 8 p.m. Julia came down the stairs wearing a green dress I hadn't seen before. She smiled at me, and for a moment I forgot all my worries. She still had that effect on me. Everything else just seemed to disappear. We talked a little on the way over, but something was off. She kept checking her phone, glancing at it quickly, typing fast, and sliding away when she saw me looking. I asked, "Everything good?" She tucked her hair behind her ear and smiled. Too quickly. "Yeah, just work being annoying. Nothing big." I believed her. Or maybe I just wanted to. We arrived at the restaurant, and I texted Marcus to let him know we were there. He replied, "Everything's ready." I touched the ring box in my pocket again, feeling calm. For once, my hands weren't shaking. This was it. The night my life was about to change forever. And it did, just not the way I had imagined. We entered Matteo's, and everything was dimly lit, just like I had asked. Soft music played, the candles flickered, and the private room was ready. Marcus and Haley were tucked away behind one of the partition walls, waiting for the signal. Julia looked around, smiling a little. "Wow," she said. "This is nice." Nice. Not amazing, not breathtaking, just nice. I brushed it off. I had one shot at this, and I wasn't going to let nerves get the best of me. We sat down, the menus untouched. The waiter brought out 2 glasses of wine without asking, another small detail I'd arranged. Julia's phone buzzed against the table. She grabbed it quickly, almost too quickly. I caught the name on the screen before she flipped it over. Lucas. Not her mom. Not Haley. Not even one of her coworkers. Just Lucas. "Everything okay?" I asked, trying to keep it light. She laughed, but it sounded forced. "Oh, it's just Lucas from my running club. He's probably asking about weekend plans." "No big deal." I nodded slowly. Maybe it was nothing. Maybe I was just being paranoid. But something in my gut twisted. Then Marcus texted me, "Ready?" I replied with 1 second. Julia continued talking about some show she had started watching, but her eyes kept flicking down to her phone. Her mind wasn't really here. I could have stopped everything right then and there, waited and asked her directly, but I didn't. Instead, I took a deep breath, stood up from the table, and pulled the ring box from my pocket. Julia's eyes widened. She blinked quickly, like she was processing what was happening. I knelt down on one knee. "Julia Martin, I love you more than I can explain. Will you marry me?" For a second, everything went still. Even the soft music seemed to fade away. Her hands flew to her mouth. Tears welled up in her eyes, and she nodded fast, almost frantic. "Yes," she whispered. "Yes, Stanley." Marcus and Haley clapped from the corner. Haley wiped her eyes, and Marcus gave me a thumbs up. I kissed her hand, slid the ring onto her finger, and for a moment, I could finally breathe. But then, under the table, her phone buzzed again. I wasn't fast enough to ignore the new message lighting up her screen. "Miss you. Can't wait to see you." I didn't react immediately. I slipped back into my chair, my heart hammering, my mind racing. Julia wiped her tears and laughed nervously, flashing the ring toward Haley across the room. Marcus and Haley smiled, watching the scene unfold like everything was perfect. But I wasn't really there anymore. I was watching it all from a distance, like it was happening to someone else. Julia tucked her phone away, caught me looking, and smiled a little too wide. "You okay?" she asked, almost like she already knew I wasn't. "Yeah," I replied, my voice not sounding like my own. Dinner continued. Plates came and went. Toasts were made. I heard Marcus mention something about planning the bachelor party, and Haley talked about dress shopping. Julia kept glancing at her phone under the table, no longer even trying to hide it. When dessert arrived, she leaned in close, kissed my cheek, and said, "Be right back, babe. Just need a second." I watched her disappear toward the back hallway. Marcus leaned over. "Man, you crushed it," he said, grinning. She looked so happy. I nodded, but it felt mechanical. I waited 30 seconds, then stood up and followed her. I found her by the back door, standing half in shadow, her phone pressed tight to her ear. "I can't talk long, Lucas," she was saying, her voice low and urgent. "He proposed." I said yes. "I know it's crazy." "No, I didn't tell him about us. He still thinks everything's fine. Just give me a little time, okay? I'll figure out." There was a beat of silence. Then her voice dropped even lower, almost tender. "I miss you too. I can't wait to see you later." My stomach twisted. I stepped forward, the floor creaking under my shoes. Julia spun around, the color draining from her face when she saw me standing there. "Stanley," she started, stuffing her phone into her purse like a child caught stealing. I held up a hand, not wanting to hear her lies, yet, "Who's Lucas?" I asked, my voice sharp but steady. She opened her mouth, then closed it. She swallowed. "Stanley, it's not what you think," she said quickly. It's complicated." I stared at her, waiting. She stepped closer, reaching for me. "Please, let's just go back inside. We can talk about this later." Later was always later. I took a long breath. My hands didn't shake. My voice didn't break. "We're done here," I said quietly. "You can stay and finish the show if you want." "I'm leaving." And then I turned. I walked away, feeling the weight of everything settle in. Julia chased after me, the sound of her heels clicking sharply against the floor as she hurried to catch up. "Stanley, wait," she called. I didn't stop. I pushed open the door of the restaurant, the cool night air hitting me, snapping me awake. She grabbed my arm outside, breathless. "Please, just listen to me," she begged. I shook her off and turned to face her. "You said yes to me," I said, my voice firm. "Then you told him you miss him." She froze, and I added, "You lied to my face." What part of that am I getting wrong? Tears filled her eyes, and she blinked rapidly. "I didn't plan this," she said, her voice cracking. I was confused. "Lucas, it's nothing serious. It's stupid. It didn't mean anything." "Didn't mean anything?" I repeated, disbelief seeping into my tone. "You were sneaking around during our engagement dinner." She opened her mouth to reply, but no words came out. Behind her, Marcus and Haley emerged from the restaurant, looking puzzled. Marcus caught my eye and instantly, reading the situation, knew something was terribly wrong. "You lied to me," I said, the hurt sharp in my voice. "And you're still lying." Julia's face crumpled, and she whispered, "Please don't do this here." I let out a short, bitter laugh. "You already did." She tried again, her voice trembling. "I love you, Stanley, I do. I was just scared. That's all. It was a mistake. I can fix it." "You don't fix love with backup plans," I said, stepping back, the distance between us growing. The street was eerily quiet, except for the sound of our heavy breathing. I pulled the empty ring box from my pocket. The one I'd carried for months, the one that symbolized forever I thought we'd have. I pressed it into her hand, saying nothing. "You'll need this with someone else," I told her. She stared down at the box, her face a mask of shock, her hand closing around it automatically. She didn't say anything more, and before she could, I turned and walked away, getting into my car and driving off without a second glance. At home, I locked the door and shoved a chair under the handle. I wasn't going to let her back in, not after what she'd done. I dropped my keys on the counter, sat on the couch, and stared at the wall, overwhelmed by the emptiness. It was supposed to be the best night of my life, and instead, it felt like the ground had been ripped out from under me. Julia kept knocking. At first, it was soft, then harder, her voice calling my name. I didn't move. Eventually, the knocking stopped. I waited, listening to the silence press against the door. After a while, I heard her footsteps fade. That night, she flooded my phone with texts, apologies, promises, and pleas to talk. I ignored them. I wasn't ready to hear more lies. Not yet. The next morning, I called a locksmith and had the locks changed before noon. New keys, new rules. She wasn't getting back in. 3 days passed. I went to work, hit the gym, acted like everything was fine. Then I cleared out the apartment, packed up every trace of her, her clothes, her books, the framed photos she loved to hang up. Everything went into boxes and straight to her parents' house. No note, no warning. Just a clean break. Julia kept trying, calling, texting, even showing up at my office once, but I refused to respond. I thought that would be the end of it, but I was wrong. On Thursday night, a number I didn't recognize flashed on my phone. I almost let go to voicemail, but something told me to answer. "Hello," I said. The voice on the other end was young, nervous. "Is this Stanley?" "Yeah, who's this?" "It's Lucas," he said. I stood up, heart pounding. "What do you want?" I thought you should know." "I didn't know she was with someone," he said. "Julia told me she was single." I didn't say anything, just listened. "We met at the gym about 4 months ago," he continued. "She said she was seeing someone casually, but it wasn't serious. I didn't even know your name until last week." Silence hung in the air, stretching between us. "I ended it when I found out," he said. "I told her it wasn't right. She said she didn't want to lose either of us." My hands clenched into fists. "Look, man," Lucas's voice dropped low. "I'm sorry. If I'd known, I would have stayed away." I swallowed hard. "Thanks for telling me," I said, then hung up. I sat there for what felt like forever, staring at nothing. For months, while I was planning a future with her, she was still unsure, still keeping her options open. I thought about all the nights she said she was working late, the weekend she needed me time. The signs had been there, but I hadn't wanted to see them. And now, there was no more pretending. No more excuses. No more maybe. I finally knew exactly who Julia was, and it wasn't the woman I thought I loved. 2 days after Lucas's call, Julia showed up at my door. I heard the knock, but didn't move at first. Then I decided to face it. I opened the door, and there she stood, no makeup, wearing a hoodie and jeans. She looked smaller, almost fragile, her eyes red as if she hadn't slept. "Stanley," she said, her voice trembling. "Can we talk?" I leaned against the doorframe and crossed my arms. "Talk," I said. "I messed up," she started, her words spilling out faster. "I know I did, but you have to believe me. I never wanted to hurt you. I was scared. I didn't know if I was ready, and Lucas was just a distraction." I didn't say anything. "When you proposed, I realized how much I loved you. I panicked because I thought I didn't deserve it. But I do love you, I do." I studied her. 2 weeks ago, I would have believed every word. But now I saw a woman who was just desperate to hang on to something she thought she'd lost. "You don't love me," I said quietly. "You love having options." Tears filled her eyes. She reached for my hand, but I stepped back. "I'm not your backup plan, Julia." I said, "I'm not the guy you settle for, because the other one didn't work out." She shook her head. "You're not. You're the one I want." "You had months to figure that out," I said. "You didn't." She wiped her eyes, breathing hard, searching for something else to say. But I looked at her, really looked at her, and felt nothing. No anger, no heartbreak, just a sharp, clean certainty. "We're done," I said. "Take care of yourself." I stepped back inside, shutting the door behind me. I didn't hear her knock again. I watched her walk away, and for the first time, I felt nothing. No pain, no regret. It was strange how quickly you can erase someone when you realize they never truly saw you. Marcus checked in on me, and Haley texted to apologize for what happened. I appreciated the sentiment, but didn't need their apologies. I needed space, so I gave it to myself. Work got easier. Sleep returned. I started running again, picking up old hobbies I neglected while I'd been busy building a life with someone else. One night, I was out with friends, laughing harder than I had in months, when my phone buzzed. It was a message from Julia. Can we talk? I stared at it for a second, but not because I was tempted. I wasn't. I smiled, blocked her number, and put the phone back in my pocket. That was it. No drama. No second chances. No emotional monologues. Just done. The funny thing about betrayal is that when you're in it, it feels like it's going to crush you, like you'll never get past it. But the truth is, betrayal is a gift. It strips away the lies you tell yourself and shows you exactly who someone is and who you are without them. If Julia hadn't shown me her true self, I would have spent years building a life on quicksand. Now I'm building something real, something just for me, and that's the life I should have been fighting for all along.